Hello and welcome to Business Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and with me my colleague Krishna Gopalan, and with us today the man of the moment, Mr. Uday Shankar, the Vice Chairperson of the Reliance-Disney Media joint venture, also the co-founder of Bodhi Tree Systems, that new big media behemoth that has been born. Mr. Shankar, welcome to Business Today. Thank you very much on behalf of the entire India Today group for taking out time, literally hours after the announcement of the completion of this mega behemoth. Before we get into specifics, what's the big picture that is likely to emerge out of this joint venture? The statement makes several key points, but how would you start off by telling our viewers about what this joint venture ultimately hopes to achieve?
I think mergers and combinations do not change viewers' lives. What the outcome of those mergers and combinations is what changes lives, and we are very determined to use this merger as an opportunity to completely reinvent the entire content and content experience ecosystem in the country. You know, India has been a great content market. You know, the history of television in this country or video in this country is not that old. You know, it's less than 30 years old when full serious mature video work started and people started experiencing. But it's emerged as one of the most exciting video markets on linear television, on the internet, everywhere else. I think time is ripe to enhance that experience and take it to the next level, both on the linear television side and on the streaming side. And I think that's what we intend to do. And we are ideally positioned to do that, Siddharth, because we have a sizable volume of sports that people like. We are between brand colors and brand star. We have more capabilities and pedigree in drama of different kinds and reality than any other media company in this country for sure, and very few in the world. And we on the internet and streaming side, between Hotstar and JioCinema, we have literally, Hotstar created streaming space in India, and JioCinema was the only other one that made a significant intervention in that space. So we are set for that, and I think this is a great opportunity to completely change the entire viewing ecosystem in this country.
I have just one quick follow-up before Krishna jumps in. Since you spoke about the two streaming platforms, will they continue to be nurtured independently for long, or, because nowhere in the world do we have one media house having multiple apps really of this kind. The positioning has been different, but what's the thought process? Will it kind of become one ultimately as a combined entity?
So we are exploring the options. Both the options are on the table, to be honest. There is a case for bringing the two together, and there is a case for keeping the two separate. Hotstar has emerged as a very well-rounded entertainment destination for Hollywood entertainment and Indian entertainment. Between content from Star, it's made for Hotstar specials and the stuff that comes from Disney and everything else. JioCinema has had a much shorter lifespan, and JioCinema started in a serious way, started with live sports and cricket. So both of them have their core identities. We are right now examining whether the two can, whether it makes more sense both from a viewer's point of view and from a business point of view, to bring the two together or keep them separate.
Mr. Shankar, obviously when you have a behemoth of this nature, the ability to command a price in the market from advertisers, if I may say so, increases quite substantially. After all, you're speaking of over 2/5 of, in terms of market share, in terms of viewership, ad revenue. How do you view that? Because end of the day, you have linear, you have digital, the ability to play around with several platforms exists.
Krishna, I wish it was as simple as you making it out to be. We do have scale and reach. 750 million viewers come to these platforms collectively every week. So there is no question that we have reach and we have scale. We have great brand affinity, between Star brand, Colors, JioCinema, Hotstar, all of these. We have great content from every part of the country and the rest of the world with great content. But monetization also depends on the capacity of the market. You've seen that, there is the video advertising space is limited, and that is one of the biggest challenges for us. While the cost that we have, while the content that we are committed to deliver is all in our control, but getting money for all of that is not in our control, and it's complex. The advertising space on television, everybody knows that television advertising has been under pressure. The streaming, on the streaming side, the advertising has been growing very healthily, but the size of the market itself is not expanding as much. So it's a complex situation. I think in the macro, if you look at the macros, it's a very good time to be in the space because the Indian economy is growing at a very healthy clip. Consumption is set to grow, and the India story keeps getting better and better, and we believe in that very heavily in this group. And but it requires a lot of innovation. It's not a ready to harvest commercial or advertising market. You have to go and shape and create the market. You need to expand the pool of advertisers. You need to innovate and disrupt the formats of advertising. Until we are able to do that, I think the value for the audiences that we deliver is not readily available.
At least when we speak to people, the perception is, speaking for GECs in particular, there is an apprehension that appointment viewing is perhaps on the way out and it will be replaced by digital. How do you view the whole change in revenue composition, if I may ask you?
People make appointment because they find it worth their while. If the content is compelling enough, people will make appointment. For a big movie on a Friday afternoon, whether it is summer or winter, you will still go to the theater. Next Friday, for a movie that doesn't excite you or doesn't promise to excite you, you do not go. It's the same with everything. For a big cricket match, the whole nation turns up. If the next match is not likely to be so exciting, people don't turn up. It's no different from for drama and other forms of entertainment, regardless of the screen that you're talking about. I think the growth in distribution, the growth in consumption hasn't kept pace. The growth, sorry, let me just put it differently. The growth in creative innovation has not kept pace with the growth in distribution and consumption. So there is an element of fatigue that's there. And I think I personally see that as a huge opportunity to disrupt and create new offerings. And we are very confident that the market will react positively to this. I'll give you one specific instance of this. Back in 2008 or 8 and 9, when I was running Star as CEO, it was the same situation. It looked like the market was slowing down. There was not enough excitement. The media entertainment consumption space was shrinking, and then out of nowhere came a channel called Colors. It challenged Star very effectively. It dislodged Star for a few months from its #1 position. Star pulled up its socks. Really, there was a battle royal sort of played out between Colors and Star. And if you go and look at the data, the market expanded. Viewing went up. The number of new viewers who came in went up. Time spent went up. And alongside, revenues went up. So I think people are looking for freshness. They are looking for entertainment. They want to be entertained. If it's the same show that's been they're part of their life for a long time, but has begun to feel cliched, then you will see these things. So I'm not a believer that appointment viewing is dying. Appointment viewing is dying or has become sort of slowed down because we are not doing enough to stoke it.
Even the most dedicated TV viewer would not remember all the channels that this combined entity has. But that size and scale has also meant that at the Competition Commission of India, where you won approval, not just in India, and you've also got competition approval from 5 other places, including the EU.
Every market in the world.
Every market in the world. The question that a lot of analysts have been asking is, what concessions has this merged entity offered in order to get those approvals? And if I can also add, which are the TV channels that are likely to be phased out? Because between Colors and Star Plus, as a viewer, I would have a very, very tough choice to make. So what tough choices have you made?
And mercifully, the regulator hasn't asked us to shut down, any of the 2 Hindi channels that you talked about. But we can share the specific details. 5 channels have to go out, and because the regulator felt that the combined concentration in select markets was crossing a safe threshold. And then there are, on top of that, there are some behavioral restrictions in terms of how we will offer key cricket tournaments, etc., across TV and digital to advertisers. All of those details are in the public domain. You can check, we can give you the information. We are duty bound to comply with all of that. But as I have always told my teams, that these restrictions, while they pinch you in the beginning, they're a little onerous. However, they also force you to innovate far more aggressively. So they put us on our toes. And now, because there are limitations on us that have been put by an authority, our teams and I, we are all working overtime to figure out how best to recreate the magic that we always had.
One of the things in the press statement that stands out is this term of digital first. And you spoke about the digital part of it. I have a couple of questions in that regard. One with regard to digital advertising. There's a winner takes it all effect that we have seen play out in the digital advertising world. Your combined size in the digital space is massive. Your combined size in the linear TV space is also very massive. Is there a playoff between linear television and digital when it comes to advertising? What would you say to those who would say that, Mr. Shankar, please explain what does digitally first mean? Will you de-emphasize linear TV in the long run?
So, if we didn't have one or the other, if we did not have linear TV or if we did not have digital, then it would be a very different strategy. But now that we have great scale and reach in both segments, why would we de-emphasize one or the other? The way we see this is a complementary service. The viewers do not make that kind of distinction in their own minds. If there is a big cricket match that's happening, an IPL game, when people want to watch the IPL, they watch it on the best available screen that is with them at that time. So if you're sitting at home, you're relaxed, then you might want to watch it on linear TV or CTV, connected TV, as the case may be in your house. When you are out, you might want to watch it on your mobile device. And that is a huge opportunity that we see. That the whole system hasn't been treated holistically, not for the viewers and not for the advertisers. And I think there is an opportunity to offer solutions that are integrated and tailored, not just take the same content and put it differently. Just to give you an example, in the very first year that we got the IPL rights for JioCinema, we did some serious innovation. We introduced multi-camera.
Yes.
We introduced all other technical, many other technical innovations, for which TV is not the best destination. But for TV, for sit down, big screen, relaxed experience, that's very good. And that was 1 year while IPL TV rights were with Star, digital rights were with JioCinema, but the consumption on both grew very significantly. So I'm a big believer that, if you use these two media, if you use to create tension between themselves, you are in a position to offer a better product to the viewers. And that always helps.
Mr. Shankar, also the fact is, the expectation is that at some point, the whole revenue composition between subscription and advertising, now given your own scale and might, how will that change? Are we likely to see, for example, the whole thing on JioCinema going pay at some point in time? So that's just one part of it, but eventually the whole game plan.
Look, JioCinema, we started JioCinema when everything was free. And then we got some content, premium Hollywood content, HBO, etc. And then we also got some of our own made for JioCinema Indian language content, and we created a pay tier. Now JioCinema has 18-19 million of paying subscribers in a very short time. We launched that service towards the end of April or early May. So in barely 5-6 months, we have this number. So Hotstar has always been there. So both these services have had a AVOD service and a streaming service and a SVOD service. I think that combination will continue to be there, because on TV in this country, people don't realize it. It's very affordable, so it feels like you don't pay anything. But there is no TV in this country that is for free, except when you go to free dish. Everything else is pay TV. So consumers are very comfortable with paying. What they want is value for the money that is being asked for them. So we believe that we will do this both. Advertising makes it easier on the wallet of the consumers, because you're able to subsidize the consumer price. So we will have advertising, of course, by and large across the platform. We will continue to have subscription, and we will push subscription, but we will not push one size fit all solutions as the market is seeing. I've always believed that media companies have innovated very well on content. The new age media companies have innovated very well also on things like distribution, consumer experience, but they haven't innovated as well on the monetization models. And I think time for innovating and disrupting the monetization models has come. So you will see, and it's not a fixed position. We will keep playing, we will keep iterating, and we'll see what's the optimum mix between free and behind a paywall.
I want to revisit that earlier part with a follow-up, because I want to get you on record on this again. What will therefore happen to the linear broadcasting business? Is it likely to be trimmed, or do you see a future where it's a very small part of a much bigger pie which is digitally led?
Look, if you're talking about only linear TV, then we are very committed to the growth of linear TV. When I became associated with Viacom and JioCinema, we had a much smaller franchise. So it made sense for us to grow the digital business, streaming business. Now we have a very, very big and very successful, very high quality television franchise. And we have two of the greatest brands that have been created in this country, Star and Colors. We think there is a lot of life left in them, and we will push them really to grow the linear television market. Don't forget that the linear television market hasn't disappeared. It is still 90 million homes on the last count. That's a lot of people. That's 350 million people in this country who pay for it. And on top of that, there is a lot of people who are using the free TV service. So 500 million people are still consuming linear TV. There is no reason to believe that it's already dead. What it requires is a fresh infusion of energy and creativity, and I think we are in a position to do that. We are very committed to do that.
Mr. Shankar, I'm just taking the bit on sports, and India, of course, is cricket land in every conceivable reason. So be it the IPL, be it the BCCI bilateral or the ICC rights, it's all going to be housed in the Reliance Disney entity, if I may say so. But equally said, there is some level of apprehension about how Disney went about that business, and there's been some stress on it financially as well.
Yes.
You must tell us, for example, what the whole game plan is, because at the end of the day, you have 3 properties and you also control all platforms across the 3 properties, be it digital or linear.
Yes.
So what is the broad thinking as far as...
No, the broad thinking is we think, as you said, there are onerous financial liabilities on account of the cricket rights. That's, we have to solve for that. And we can only solve for that by growing the market and innovating in the advertising and monetization space broadly. And we will do that. We'll continue to do that. But we are committed to those rights. We have to service those rights, whatever the cost may be. The company, obviously, before this joint venture was finalized, all those considerations were looked at, and we are comfortable with carrying that burden. The bad news of cricket rights is that they are very expensive, and they're awarded to the broadcasters or media companies for a very short period of time. The good news is that they're awarded to you for a very short period of time. So you can grit your teeth and just plod your way through.
But with your combined size, is this joint venture now far better placed in terms of negotiation and bargaining power, if I may use that word, for any auction rights, including cricket, for example?
So you know how cricket auctions are conducted. There is no space for bargaining power. It's an online auction like Spectrum and Natural Resources. Sorry, you have to go and participate in that. So there is not much space for that. What it does for us is that we have the breadth and depth of creative assets that we have between drama, movies, reality, cricket, non-cricket, Indian cricket, international cricket. That breadth and depth gives us a lot of cushion to move wisely going forward. We don't have to be desperate to bid for every right and win every right. The sports bodies globally have generally have benefited from the deep, passionate loyalty of the sports fan, and they have feasted on the fear of missing out that the media companies have. We don't suffer from that fear of missing out anymore. So if we don't have to bid for the next cycle of ICC rights, we can very comfortably sit it out, because that won't make a dent in the business.
I noticed some commentary earlier on when this deal was announced, and the point that I recall was concerns in the distribution community, where they said, will there be a future where television channels, which are currently distributed through a certain industry structure, it's prevailed for many, many years, and within this entity we also have a significant play, that all or maybe a significant portion of television will get shifted to OTT platforms, and then what will happen to us? Is that a valid concern?
But, in a manner of speaking, that's the march of civilization, and there's nothing you can do about it. Technology has already set that agenda. Standalone analog TVs are becoming connected TVs. Now, it doesn't mean that people can't take their signal from cable and satellite. People can continue to take their signal from cable and satellite, and a large number of homes have CTVs, but they're still taking an input from cable and satellite. But they have the option of receiving the same content through the internet. Now, it just puts the onus on the service provider. The cable guys or the satellite guys or us, who in the case of streaming, we have to really pull our socks up and just make sure that we create a compelling enough proposition for people to pay the money. Gone are the days when you got a service, it sucked, but you could not do anything about it because this was the only game in town. There are other games in town. We just need to be ready for that.
I'm just thinking, behemoth of this size, and eventually, and if you look at the landscape today, and you did speak of cricket rights, for instance, getting very expensive, and you've been through the process since 2017 at Star as well, when the IPL thing came up. Do you visualize a scenario where now, with reasonably competition being reasonably conservative, and you therefore will be in a position to determine the rights, so to speak, because you'll be the only interested player? So do you expect rights to therefore come to a fairly steady or conservative level, leaving more money on the table to be made?
I don't know, but I hope so. Okay. Because in my experience, every time that I've gone through a bidding process, I've thought that now sanity will prevail. But around the time of bidding, a few drunk sailors arrive every year. So I hope so, because cricket, or for that matter, many other rights have become very expensive. I can tell you what we are very focused on. We want cricket. Cricket is very useful. It's a huge aggregator of viewership. People love it. It's a great business, provided it is at a reasonable price and on terms that are sensible. If that doesn't happen, then obviously we'll have to revisit that. I'll give you an example. Historically, whenever I have headed businesses, I have invested very heavily in movies. But there came a time when you were getting third-class movies at first plus class prices. And, Star Exit withdrew stepped back very substantially from that. There were markets where we were still buying movies. When even at JioCinema, we invested very heavily in cricket, we invested heavily in Hollywood content, but we have been very selective about buying Indian movies. So it's about the quality of the content. If the content is compelling, it's differentiated, and it's going to be really exciting our viewers, then we'll definitely do that. But otherwise, I hope not. But I can't speak for other people. India is a market which is on everybody's radar globally. Every media company, new age media company, old age media company, they're all looking at India. So let's hope we all behave sensibly.
Since you spoke about drunken sailors, it's also true that when they see the big daddy in the bar, they leave the bar. You are clearly the big daddy. You are a behemoth.
No, they don't. They just tip the bartender a little bit more, and they get the attention.
But I want to lead into this point that Krishna asked and pursue that once again. Cricket and sports programming will now be completely concentrated. Analysts are saying that other players will find it hard to survive in cricket and sports, and that you will basically crush the competition and also have a very outsized influence on both the rights and price discovery process and the advertising market as well. So allow me to put that question to you.
No, look, I don't know which analysts are talking about saying this, but first of all, how many people were participating in cricket rights earlier? Even in the last round, it was only 2 or 3. So that market hasn't effectively shrunk. The other people who have traditionally, not every
But
media...
the question is, can it increase? If it's not shrunk, can it increase? Can it expand?
Yeah, because I just told you, I do think that you've seen the new age media companies, the tech media companies who have traditionally stayed away from live sports. They're all now looking at live sports. Not in India yet, little bit in India. Somebody took the New Zealand cricket rights, etc. But globally, people are beginning to look at sports, and they have the capacity to drive the market in a very big way. So I don't think, Siddharth, that the market is now... One mistake we make is that the market has changed, the world has changed, and we continue to define the market in a very traditional way. The traditional media companies, they are not facing competition, not for viewership, not for content, not for monetization. They're not facing competition only from amongst themselves. A large number of people are coming from outside and putting pressure on them. So I don't think that fear that market has shrunk is true at all. And viewers are actively exercising choices. They will go where they find exciting content.
What would your message be to other players in the ecosystem, a Zee, a Sony, and other companies, given the size that you have achieved and the combined power of this merger? What would your message be to them as the Vice Chairperson of this entity?
Look, I'm in the business of running this entity. Who am I to give them any advice? They are all very smart people. They are friends and colleagues, ex-colleagues. I think they are all very smart people. They'll do what is right for their business. But I always say to everyone that don't look at what the other guy is doing. Play your game. And that's that's how I have always done, led my life. I do what I believe in. I do what makes sense for me. And I definitely don't do what makes sense for somebody else.
There's one thing I wanted to ask you. There's commitment to invest about 11,000 crores. Broadly, what are the areas that you might be considering? I'm just saying, is it going to be towards upping it on one particular asset, or? No,
not necessarily. Look, we need to invest, we need to keep investing in technology, in building better UI, UX, and on content. Then, as you said yourself, there are onerous cricket rights, which, some of those rights obligations have to be serviced. So the money is designed for everything. It's not for one specific purpose. It will be spent according to the business plan towards building this company that can continue to redefine and lead the media business in this country and elsewhere for a long time.
I want to ask you a question about Disney, because we've spoken about telecom, OTT, a lot of the Indian content, but in in terms of Disney, given their size and their content library as well.
This is the Walt Disney Company, global.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the vision for it to be a content library, or do you see certain technology that will get infused into the joint venture? Explain what are the possible synergies.
Look, they are a shareholder in the joint venture. So, to that extent, they are a very, very critical stakeholder in the business. And we have a very comprehensive agreement to have access to Disney content library. As far as this India business is concerned, the relationship is on these two axes. So that's what it will be. You know, Disney has a fabulous content portfolio, and we will have access to that. So, you know, that gives us, between Disney content and HBO and Paramount and Warner Media, etc., we have a very rich content library.
Mr. Shankar, broadly, they will hold a little under 37% in the.
Yes.
What is the broad level of understanding? Have they indicated that they will be there for a while?
They have come in because they want to be there. Look, this is a great global company. I don't see them exiting a market like India. I think it's just a pivot on both sides to build a bigger business.
Mr. Shankar, as we wind down this conversation, I want to ask you, when all of this was being discussed and being planned, I'm sure in your conversations with Mr. Mukesh Ambani, Mrs. Nita Ambani, there must have been a discussion on the vision and the long-term future that is seen by all the principals behind this behemoth. How has the vision for success of this joint venture been discussed amongst all of you, and what can you share with us?
No, look, I can tell you, the vision is out in the public domain. You've seen the release and you've heard me talk. The vision is very simple. We believe that India is going through a transformation. The video and the media and entertainment market in this country, it's still in the early stages of evolution. We think there is a revolutionary possibility to take this. And the vision is very simply that, can we be the default for every Indian who wants to consume content? Can we just be available to everyone? They will watch, they will go to other sites, but can we get the largest slice of their time and attention from the largest number of Indians? That's what we want to achieve. And that requires all the current formats and all the current themes of content that we have, but it also requires innovating. I don't need to tell you that it's a market where people make one mistake, especially foreign media companies when they come in. They come for 1.4, 1.5 billion people, and they design solutions for 100, 200 million people. And that's when they begin to struggle. Everybody gets the attention of 10, 15, 20, 50 million customers in this country. But we are here, we are on the ground. We know this country. And we want to go to every last Indian who wants to consume video.
Would it be fair to therefore conclude from what you say that in terms of future pricing strategies, you will continue to be a mass market player, and that would pose a lot of trouble to some other OTT premium offerings in the market?
I don't think it will make trouble for anyone, because you've seen even the global players who have one fixed price everywhere in the world have begun to innovate for this market. I think that process of innovation will put further pressure on everybody. We definitely, Reliance, that they create solutions for every Indian. And I think that is what you're going to see again. And this is great time for the consumers and viewers, because content will become better and more affordable, and that would expand the market. That benefits everybody in the country.
Absolutely, and these are lessons that India has taught not just to foreign media companies, but possibly in every sector. Mr. Shankar, you've been a trailblazer and a pioneer in this space. And for those of us who have followed your career and reported on all the businesses that you have led, Krishna has spent years doing this. I've also had that good fortune. We will all be looking forward to how this joint venture gets shaped up. I'll ask you one final quick question. what is the logo and name of this new entity going to be? Because as we saw in the statement, there are 5 logos. We introduced you as, taking the names of both companies, but anything that you can drop as a short exclusive for our viewers.
Promise you that as soon as we have full clarity, I'll share it personally with you.
Okay, I had to try, viewers, but clearly a behemoth of this size and the interview that's been granted at such short notice may not be enough to fully comprehend the massive impact, transformational impact that this joint venture is going to have on the Indian media landscape. But we are absolutely clear with some of the questions that Mr. Shankar took and the answers that we have got, that the future is going to be very exciting for consumers as well as for all other stakeholders. Mr. Shankar, thank you very much for your time with us today. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. We'll see you again. Until then, goodbye.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.